Okay, as I've said before, pickpocketing is less about the physical act of the steal, but more about the motivation behind the steal. What is the narrative that you're creating to cover the moments of theft? Uh, a good way to sort of have this in mind is, the why will always give you the how. If you understand why you're interacting, what is the motivation, what is the purpose of this, this will often give you the methodology for the steals themselves. And typically, the methods behind the steals or the motivation for these, the narrative, if you like, is quite straightforward. Generally speaking, they fall into a number of categories. The first one is what I would call the lost and found principle. The idea of an object vanishing from sight and being searched for or found somewhere else. So typically, this is the one that I would most often use. Something as simple as a coin vanishing and being found inside somebody's pocket, or at least searching for the item. This idea of we're going to lose something and we're going to look for it. One of my favorite ways of doing this in impromptu performance is to use card under watch as a motivation for this moment. The idea being that somebody chooses a card, I Mercury card fold it, I load it on the watch, under the watch as they take the cards, and now I have a genuine excuse to say, the card vanishes from the pack and reappears inside the pocket. And this way I'm allowed to go into the pockets and steal things under the guise of searching for the playing card. Of course, we go through this process, we never find the card. This covers the steals, of course, at the end of which I'm able to reveal the card being under the person's watch. Similarly, you may well have seen things on YouTube where, say, sponge ball routine has been used. The idea of, a sponge ball vanishes and then reappears. The person searches for it, and eventually it's found inside the hand of the spectator, along with the other ball. Very simple premise. Something is lost, and during the action of searching for and finding it, you are able to steal a variety of objects. Another way of looking at the motivation for this is kind of like an educational, a training kind of session. Again, a very popular way of covering steals over the many years. I'm going to teach you how to avoid being pickpocketed. This is an educational thing. I'm here to tell you, as an expert in the field of con artistry and pickpocketing, all the things that you need to watch out and worry about. If you go on holiday to certain parts of the world where there's a lot of pickpocketing, if you come to London, on a busy, crowded street in Oxford Street, I could well give you some hints and tips that would help you avoid being pickpocketed. But of course, all of this is just a guise to facilitate me stealing off you. One of the things I say to my students who come on the training courses, the live training, is actually the fact that you've come here gives you a genuine motivation for practice. When you go out and, after the weekend of training, you go back to maybe your normal place of work if you still have a full-time job, or back to friends and family. And the question, of course, is, what did you do this weekend? And, you have that conversation, and maybe at the end of it, the person will ask you what you did this weekend. And you say, well, I went on a pickpocket course. What? Yeah, no, I went on a pickpocket course. I learned how to steal X, Y, and Z. I tell you what, let me show you. And under the guise of demonstrating, how to do this and what you've learned, you can use that as misdirection in and of itself to do the steals. Again, a very popular notion for the pickpocket is to dress up as somebody else, say a security guard. If you're working at an event, dress up as a security guard. It gives you the opportunity, using sort of that authority figure sort of social dynamic, to be able to go up and check people's bags, ask to look inside jacket pockets and coats. And this, of course, is a great opportunity for you to do the steals. So have a think about that as a potential. So the basic concept is losing something and trying to find it. Being, say, a security guard or somebody else in authority, which gives you the excuse and the reason to interact. Maybe there's an educational reason for you to be creating this act. But of course, there's the obvious one as well, and that's just magic itself. Magic can give you a really easy excuse, particularly close-up magic, to be physically close to somebody, to come into somebody's personal space and to give them things to focus on. Coin tricks, card tricks, elastic bands, rope. Lots of things give you the opportunity to come nice and close to somebody. I've seen magicians stealing ties, for example, whilst doing a rope routine around the tables. You know, they have the opportunity to, come behind the person, reach around in front of them as they're sat down and do a nice rope routine. And this, of course, gives them the opportunity to dangle a rope around the person's neck, do the classic wrapping around the neck and pulling it as it comes back through. All of these things giving perfect cover to steal something, in this case, maybe a tie. But going back to what I said at the beginning, the why will often give you the how. Think about who you are, what your character is, what your rationale for being there. Back to the less is more idea. Don't think that you have to steal everything in one go. Your whole rationale may well just be to cover one thing, to take a phone or a wallet or the watch, cufflinks, the tie. There's lots of things that you can do, but it's all down to what motivates the steal. What's your narrative? Why are you there? Okay. In my case, more often than not, it's the simple fact that I'm there to entertain as a close-up magician, and my style, the way I perform, gives me access to somebody's personal space. And if it's as simple as a card that vanishes and it reappears inside somebody's pocket, which gives me the opportunity to go in and steal something while I'm simply palming a card into play, that's perfect for me. Once I have one thing, of course, now I have the one ahead principle as well, and I can jazz and bounce around with it. So always think about the why, because the why will often give you the how.